Hi, everyone, and welcome. My name is Jeremy Norden-Paul, and I'm the Executive Director of the Washington State Developmental Disabilities Council.
Hi, everyone, and I'm Stacy Dim, the Executive Director of the ARC of Washington State.
Today, we're here to talk about the Consumer Directed Employer, often called CDE. Stacy, for those who don't know or who might need a quick refresher, can you give us a little background on why the CDE is important?
Well, DSHS is changing how IPs are hired and paid, and they've been working on this for some time. They have selected a vendor, and things are moving along. And that's why we're excited to hear from our guests today.
Great. And so a lot of us know that the launch of the CDE was supposed to take place this last summer, but like a lot of things this year, it's been delayed. So we've asked Bill Moss, Assistant Secretary of the Aging and Long-Term Care Administration, and Evelyn Perez, Assistant Secretary of the Developmental Disabilities Administration, to help bring us up to speed on what's happening and what we need to understand. So first, can you talk a little bit about where things stand right now? So for example, who is the designated CDE and what will they be responsible for?
Thank you, Jeremy and Stacy, for the opportunity to talk a little bit about the Consumer Directed Employer. The state-selected Consumer Direct Care Network of Washington, also referred to as CDWA or CDWA, to serve as our Consumer Directed Employer. In terms of roles and responsibilities, the Consumer Direct Employer will take on many of the responsibilities currently that the Washington State is currently tasked with in terms of FBI fingerprint checks, Washington State Patrol background checks, monitoring for training and certification completion in a timely manner, and of course, payroll and benefits. The hiring of providers will be done by CDE, but that will be at the direction of the client consumer. What this will do is free up case managers' time to spend more time with their clients, be able to take a little more time in terms of the assessed need and service authorizations that they are working on, and do some check-ins really with clients and ensure that the client's needs are being met in the way they would prefer to have them met.
Thanks, Bill. That's great information. Are the timelines changing because of COVID, and are there new timelines that people should be aware of?
It's a great question. COVID has been difficult for all of us, and the CDE is no different. There'll be a pilot to test the system that will start effective July 1st of 2021. That will last 3 months, will involve really a couple hundred providers. There'll be a 1-month separation between that pilot and what we're calling the first phase of workers actually being hired by the CDE. That will start October 1st of 2021. It will involve 15,000 individual providers across the state. We don't have actual locations yet, but as we get that information, we certainly will be sharing that with you. And then in January 1st of 2022, we will transition the remainder of individual providers across the state. So effectively, all individual providers will be essentially employees of the CDE and doing their timekeeping in the Consumer Direct Employer system April 1st of 2022.
Thanks, Bill. I was just going to ask if any of these timelines will cause delays or gaps in service for consumers.
Our cutover is planned in such a way that we will have, for a period of time, both the IP1 system operating in the state as well as the CDE. We really like the phased approach. It's an opportunity for us to make sure that it is as successful as it can be and as seamless as possible for both providers of care and clients.
And I'd like to add really that people should know that the case managers will continue as their primary contact if there's any change in services or support needs. So that is not changing at all.
The question that's on a lot of people's minds, even though these sound like really positive changes, consumers want to know, will they lose any rights or responsibilities?
One of the things that was really important was that we create a system that is seamless in terms of what clients can expect in terms of their right to hire and fire providers, as well as schedule their hours and ensure that their service plans were developed the way they wanted them to be set up. We're very proud of that. We very much want to not just continue self-directed care, but empower self-directed care as much as possible.
Where do people go for help to make sure they're recording their hours correctly? And how can live-in providers ensure that they're exempt? Is that the CDE?
So today, providers can get information about EDV and an exception for living providers by going to ip1.org or contacting IP1. After the transition to CDE, again, individual providers will contact the Consumer Direct Care Network Washington in order to get those questions answered.
Who can IPs and consumers turn to for help if there are problems?
Sure.
So-
Was that
Go
you,
ahead,
Bill?
Evelyn.
Oh, no, either way. Here's what I'm going to say. You can add to it. How's that? I think that people in general, Consumer Directed Care Network Washington will provide supports with questions about payroll, choosing a provider. The case manager will continue as a contact if there is a change in service or support needs. I'm sure Bill might have additional information on that.
I would just say related to this, so remember, we're going to do a phased approach in terms of how we implement the consumer directed employer. For authorization issues and things that are related to the service plan or assessments, those questions should go to the DD case managers or the area agency case managers or home and community services social workers. For anything related to payment and payroll, those questions should go to the consumer directed employer if they're in your area, or folks that are still with the IP1 system, those would go to the IP1 call center.
For all the individual providers out there who are getting ready for this change, what can they be doing right now to prepare?
The first thing they probably could be doing is really sign up to Gov Delivery and select the Consumer Directed Employer box. And that will provide them ongoing information on what's going on so that they can be prepared.
I'm going to say this now, and you will hear us say this until we are completed with the CDE transition. But as you are moving over, once a provider is hired by the CDE, getting your hours claimed timely is going to be really important. At some point, the IP1 system will no longer be available. So we want to make sure everybody gets paid. And then I just want to redirect people to the CDE website, which is on the DSHS also webpage. It's a really good source of information.
Bill, that was very well said. I really don't have anything else to add to that. Thank you both for having us here.
I do want to give a quick reminder to our listeners that Informing Families has periodic updates, so we encourage folks to sign up for our bi-monthly listserv on our news page at informingfamilies.org.